This is Do It for a Living, your source for inside information on the future of automotive performance.
It's such a slow-moving machine and slow process to do what you love, but, every day counts. And that's the thing is I'm working every day. There's no day that I'm off. I mean, I worked yesterday on Thanksgiving. I worked the day before, and I enjoy what I do, but it's also very stressful at the same time.
What's holding you back from starting or growing your business into what it can be? Well, if you're listening to this, it's not a lack of information. What you're about to hear is all you need to get motivated and start making waves. Do It for a Living podcast details the journey of today's true players in their own words. Find out how they broke out so you can too. The time is now. The time is always now.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Do It for a Living. My name is Todd Ersley, and today I've got Larry Chen with me. So I first found out about Larry through the online photography and a blog website called Speed Hunters. So he's a contributing senior editor and contributing writer for that. But he also, for the most part of his job, he's going around and taking pictures for people. So I've seen his work with a lot of other businesses. And so like Grid Life, which we just interviewed, he takes a lot of pictures for them. And then Michelin is another partner that I'm associated with, and he's got taken some really cool trips to go do stuff with them. So we may touch on that later today. But Larry, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Todd.
Yeah, man, really excited to kind of hear your standpoint. You being a professional photographer is not a type of guest that we've had before. And so you get to travel all over, people send you all over the world to take pictures, and you, get to kind of live the life, but there's a lot of background work that goes into it. So just kind of want to hear a little bit about your background. Where did you get started, or your passion with cars or photography, or did it come from something totally different? So kind of take us back, and, what did you do growing up as a kid that led into this?
Well, it's kind of interesting because on a daily basis, I get people coming up to me or messaging me asking about, like, what's the one thing that they need? Like, what's the one piece of advice, or what's the thing that they need to do overnight to, just get into this business? And it's like, I always tell them, like, there's no just like one trick, like one. It doesn't just happen overnight, and I'm sure that's the same way with, that is the same way with pretty much every job in the automotive industry. It's just so much grinding and so much just being out there, out in the battlefield, I guess, like just meeting people face to face. And I tell them, like, look, this is something that I've been working on for 13 years or almost 14 years now. I just shot basically my 12th SEMA in a row, and also 12th. I just finished my 12th Formula Drift season in a row. So when people say, like, hey, you get all the access at this event, or you get, I was like you at one point. At one point I was behind the fence, and then I, made my way in front of the fence, and then I made my way, to the official photographer, and then it's just such a such a slow moving machine and slow process to do what you love, but every day counts, and that's the thing is I'm working every day. There's no day that I'm off. I mean, I worked yesterday on Thanksgiving. I worked the day before, and whatever. The good thing is my work is fun. I enjoy what I do, but it's also very stressful at the same time.
When did you get your first camera or decide to start taking lots of pictures?
So I got my first DSLR when I realized that the point and shoots I was shooting with just didn't really cut it. So I scrounged up some money. I saved up $1,000 to buy a Canon Rebel XT, and that was in 2004. That was when it first came out. Okay. I'm guessing it's 2004, 2003, around there.
Yeah.
And I've just been shooting ever since then. And I took that camera all over the world. I paid my own way, with that camera to go to Japan, to go to Europe, to go to China, to go anywhere I can shoot. I just figured, you know what, if other people are doing it, then even though I have this cheapy consumer camera, I can travel the world and I can shoot with it.
Did you have another job before you got into photography?
Well, right out of high school, I never went to college or anything. Right out of high school, I just started my own business. Locally, I just fixed computers, sold computers, and tinkered with computers, stuff like that. And then I also picked up Paparazzi. And I was a full-time paparazzi / news photographer for 2.5 years.
Because are you in LA then?
I am in Los Angeles, yeah. So then with that and the whole, TMZ 30-mile zone
Yeah.
where all the celebrities live, I was able to make a living and, just supplement my income. And pretty much any day I had off and any time I had off, any extra funds I had, I paid my way to go to places and to travel the world and shoot cars.
So it was still, you were doing, the nasty paparazzi photos to, kind of pay for your passion of vehicles, sounds like.
Yeah, that's a really good way to explain it. I could care less about the celebrities.
Yeah.
They were just walking dollar signs to me, but it was hard work and it was good, honest work. I slept well at night. I have pictures of Michael Jackson. I have pictures of Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift and anyone and everyone you can think of. Wow. I had pictures of them, and granted that was a while ago, but it's funny because I fly through LAX all the time and I go through, the same areas all the time and I see the same people out there grinding.
Oh, man.
I recognize there was one point where I was flying through LAX and it was Angelina Jolie flying, coming home from some out of country trip. Mm-hmm. And there were like 8 paparazzi out there. I still knew 5 of them. So I was just flying to some event, but I had all my camera gear with me. So I'm like, you know what? For old time's sake, I'm going to pull my camera out. I'm going to shoot Angelina. But guess what? I didn't get one shot because I'm so rusty with that kind of stuff.
You got to be like, that's like a cutthroat industry, isn't it?
The thing is, it comes down to experience, and that's kind of one of the things that I really learned about photography, about news photography, about in the moment photography was from paparazzi. Just hey, are they going to go out the front door? Are they going to go out the back door? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? Like, there's so much. There's a million variables, that go into shooting something like that translate over to motorsport. It's like, okay, all right, so are they going to go off here? Is there going to be a pit stop soon? Or is this it's crazy because how much it translates. Like, one of the things that I always tell people, it's the kind of this concept that I came up with as a paparazzi that translated perfectly over to motorsport, is the concept of space-time, in terms of like, there could just be this dirty alley that smells, and within space and time, there was one moment where if you stood at this spot in this dirty alley, you could take a picture that's worth $100,000, $200,000, or whatever. Mm-hmm. The sky's the limit, or whatever. It could be worth $10. But the fact of the matter is, it could be any place in Hollywood, anywhere in the world. It could be just like a sidewalk. At one moment in time, you being there with a camera was worth that much money. So then I applied that to motorsports in thinking like, okay, you know what? This racetrack, if it's an empty racetrack, or if it's this whatever's going on in car culture, it could be a meet or whatever. Just I have to foresee these moments, where this spot is worth that much, or where this spot will yield me this picture, so that I always think about that. And it's kind of just this funny thing that I think about.
Yeah, I assume that you kind of wander the streets or the track or the event probably a lot differently than people like me do, where I'm like, oh, that's neat. And I just imagine you being like, how can I position myself to get a cool shot of something that may happen here, hopefully?
Yeah. And for me, that really comes down to the whole picture first thing. I'm always thinking about the picture first. Making money is kind of an afterthought. And of course, now that I have a family, I have 2 kids, it's important. And I work very hard to make sure, the income's always coming in. But it's always pictures first. I really like, for example, this past year with Goodwood Festival of Speed, I paid my own way still to go, because I know it's going to be an amazing event, and I know I'm going to be able to make great pictures. With that kind of event, making money, was just the afterthought. But I just wanted to make sure, yeah, sure, thousands of people have shot this type of event and shot Goodwood, but I want to have my own take on it, like, because I look at it from a different perspective. I want to do my own rounds. I want to walk the track myself, like, while it's nice for me to enjoy everyone else's pictures, it's like I want to make those pictures too.
Yeah, it sounds like you have invested, a trip like that sounds like an investment more than, just hoping that it's going to turn out okay. You're like, I'm going to pay for this and work for fun. And then, the upside is that you may be able to actually make some money doing it. But, even the downside is like the not so best part is you still get to go to the event and enjoy it. So sounds like a cool experience for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that really comes down to like, the whole, like, how much of that are you supposed to do? Right. So like with with shop owners or with performance shops, like, how much free work are you supposed to give out to give you notoriety? Well, in terms of photography, I'll tell you right now, pretty much every single client that I work for now, or any event that I am involved with now, there was one point where it was like that gray area, where there was one point where I put in the funds to get there, or to just prove myself, I guess. I really enjoy a lot of off-road events now, and ever since I started doing off-road, I just, same thing, I'd pay my way, go out there, get my feet wet, and really like learn that whole culture, learn off-road photography, learn off-roading, learn off-road racing. And now, I'm shooting as much as I can because I love it, and it's such a great aspect of car culture, motorsport culture.
Yeah, because you said you were just down at the Baja 1000. Was that a trip where you were solicited for work, or again, was it just an exploratory trip to go experience it and see what you can do?
Yeah, so the Baja 1000 is an interesting one for me because I've always wanted to do it, but I just never had the chance to because there was always a scheduling conflict before, and I've been meaning to do it for years. So with that said, like, I did pay my way to go to other off-road events to prepare myself for the Baja 1000. And I shot down in Mexico too beforehand, but I've shot it twice now, last year and this year, and both times we're hired guns along with other photographers just because it's such a big race. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing though. I enjoyed myself. Pictures first, as always, pushed super hard to get nice pictures, and then kind of try to figure everything out afterwards.
And so are you, meeting people and showing them their work, or are you just kind of just hanging out and talking to people and, going to let that relationship foster into maybe something in the future?
Well, the thing is, when I started, there really wasn't social media. I mean, social media wasn't really a big thing. So I'm pretty sure everyone my age remembers when we were, grinding in that whole car realm around 2002 to 2003, 2004, around there. It was all about car forums. Car forums where it's at. So I did everything I could to shoot and then post all my pictures on all the most popular forums. And that's how I first started getting a little bit of traction, people noticing my work, because when they went to the forums, they would be like, hey, here's the most recent coverage from this event, or here's pictures of this car or whatever, you know. So car forums it was before YouTube, before Instagram, before all that, you know. And once those new platforms started, I just kind of latched onto each one as it came, you know. And that's one of the things that I always tell people. I'm sure a lot of your listeners maybe are thinking sometimes like, hey, there's this new platform, but I'm too late because everyone else already started and even my username is taken and whatever. I always say it's never too late. You know, you should just start it. Start it today, you know, start it. And then who cares if you have 150 followers or 200 followers for months. The point is that you have a presence. If someone wants to look you up, you know, then they can. And it's crazy how many jobs and how many people I meet through Instagram or whatever other platforms, like, I don't know, Twitter or Snapchat or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I always try everything, you know. I always latch onto something. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But if it works out, you know, then I push super hard on it. That's
very cool. So did you kind of envision yourself working, you know, for yourself when you were a kid? Like, did you kind of plan on being an entrepreneur your whole life?
Well, the thing is, I wasn't very good at school. I barely passed elementary school, middle school, and high school. I barely graduated.
Okay.
Like, I graduated with maybe like 1 or 2 points over what I actually needed to get for middle school and for high school. So I just hated school. You know, I always say that I got the best sleep in school. I was a pro at that, and I would snore in class and everyone would laugh. But it's funny because I just couldn't deal with it. I don't know. I just couldn't deal with that. You know, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. I didn't want to learn about anything else. So because I was really into video games, you know, I naturally knew computers pretty well. And that's why I latched onto that first. And then I worked really hard to build up my computer business, building computers for, you know, the area, local Los Angeles area. So I would build like 200, 300 computers at a time for like call centers or whatever. You know, I did that because I just was I just wanted to do my own thing, you know, and that kind of pushed me to really focus on photography, I guess. I mean, the thing is, I didn't know this job even existed, but all I knew is I wanted to shoot, and that's where I spent all my money. And when I finally started making money from shooting, it kind of came as a surprise, honestly.
Do you remember what your first, you know, paid gig was, or when you got paid for pictures?
That's
kind of hard to remember back that far. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, but I do remember there was one point where like my goal was like, okay, all right, now my goal is to make $10,000 a year from pictures. And that was kind of like a breaking point for me where I'm like, okay, I can finally make real money, you know, not fake money from it. It's funny because I always say like, it's funny because I'm really into film cameras still. Mm-hmm. And I have just a film camera collection, and like I bought a Leica M6. And since I started shooting film, well, I mean, I started shooting on film first, actually, but never for work. So I've always shot with digital for work. But I bought a bunch of film cameras and been shooting with them. I've only sold one picture for $75 from my film cameras.
Yeah.
So I've spent thousands of dollars on my film cameras. I haven't made any money back. But it's funny because it's just like that at that point it's like it's not a tool, you know, it's just kind of a fun thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, with photography, I didn't realize that it was going to be this. You know, like now I'm lucky to be able to shoot pretty much every day I want to, and anything I want to in the car realm, which is just so awesome.
Yeah, it is really cool. And I mean, again, kudos on the amazing pictures, because it doesn't take very long to find really just anything that you've shot of any, you know, genre. Like you mentioned the Goodwood, you've done Pikes Peak, you've done drift events like with the Grid Life guys. And, you know, I saw I was following the Michelin Deal. So do you mind telling us a little bit about the event you did with the Ford GT?
Yeah, so I mentioned this in my Speed Hunter story, but I get emails on the daily or weekly about, hey, come shoot this and we'll pay for you to do this or whatever. Generally speaking, a lot of times it's just not that interesting to me. But with Michelin, they basically said, hey, look, we'll fly you out, we'll pay you to be on camera, and you'll be in front of the lens. But you could do whatever you want. Like, you could take pictures if you want. You do whatever you want. And then I'm like, look, if you fly me out to take pictures of the Ford GT and you're renting out a whole section of the Austrian Alps, then I am all for it, And it was it moved super quick, and that's what I love about these guys. MEC they're the agency for Michelin in Germany.
Okay.
And they or Wavemaker MEC, but they move so quickly, So within like 2 months, I was out there
across the ocean.
Yeah, I was there, and the Ford GT was in front of me, and I was just shooting, and it was amazing. It was a great little piece, and I just can't believe how many views it has, even though it's only in German. I'm looking at the YouTube, and it has 617,000 views. But it's crazy to me that it's only in German and people are watching it.
Yeah. I watched it because I was like, I want to see what this thing is. I mean, it's a cool video, and it looks like they're, it looked like they've been doing that for a while, those two guys, with whatever show that they have. But yeah, it was cool. So that does look like a fun trip. So, but
yeah.
It sounds like you're kind of turning down a lot of these things, that, these opportunities that come now is just like too many, huh?
Well, no, the thing is, I want to do great work, and like I said before, it's always about pictures first. And if it won't yield good pictures, and it's just about doing something, it's not worth it to me. Like I'm trying to build this legacy in a way. Like I'm trying to record motorsports as it is now, or car culture as it is now, for the future. And I can only shoot so long. My body won't really allow me to shoot for that much longer. Photography is super tough in terms of just the traveling and carrying all the equipment and everything. It's not as many shoot days as people think, but the shoot days are always the best days.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, on that note, let's take a real quick break here for a commercial, and then we'll be right back.
We all know owning a shop is difficult, so we created My Shop Assist to help you manage the various jobs. Whether you run a machine shop, a performance tuning shop, build off-road trucks, or even do powder coating, My Shop Assist can help you. It is completely online and will help you schedule the jobs, log time on each task, track parts orders, and take pictures of the work. You can even export your jobs from My Shop Assist into QuickBooks as invoices. So if you're interested to improve operations at your shop, check out myshopassist.com to start your 30-day free trial.
Okay, so Larry, now that we're back, I wanted to kind of dive into some of the projects and the people that you've been working with on stuff. And so Hoonigan has been a pretty big one for you. So can you kind of explain, how you got started with them, and kind of what is the content that you're providing for that brand, and for Ken Block as well?
So that is a great question. I met Ken first on the set of Gymkhana 4 when they were shooting at Universal Studios. I had a buddy of mine, Lindbergh. He's also a shooter. He invited me to basically cover for him, I guess. He had another shoot. So they hired him to shoot, and I came along, and, I just did my own thing shooting, and then they liked the pictures. So we kept in touch, and we, worked here and there, but like for some reason my schedule was always conflicted with theirs. So I even missed like that San Francisco epic Gymkhana 5. So it was tough for me because I was missing out on all these big shoots that they were doing. But then when Ken started driving in rallycross, in global rallycross here in the U.S., that's when I could start shooting, their athletes or Hoonigan's athletes and Ken Block himself. So then I really pushed to focus on getting good coverage of him, just to kind of, just to be able to work with, I feel like the most influential guy in car culture right now. So there was actually one article that I remember that really changed, I guess, our relationship when he tried to do, or when he actually did full course drift Irwindale. So he brought his Gymkhana car to Irwindale before a Formula Drift event just to be able to drift the whole bank.
Okay.
And I just happened to be there, because I was shooting Formula Drift. I just pushed as hard as I could to get amazing pictures of just them trying to do that, which is just so crazy to me that it's this all-wheel drive rally car monster being able to drift this half-mile bank or whatever, or 3/4 oval bank, or I don't even know how.
Yeah, it's a long way.
But it's a long bank,
Yeah.
and you really have to be committed. Anyways, I pushed really hard to get good pictures of that, and then I wrote a story, and Ken really liked that story, and basically since then we've been working together pretty closely. And like the last project I worked with him and the Hoonigans on that was pretty big was Climbkhana at Pikes Peak, with him drifting the Hoonicorn version 2 up Pikes Peak. That was really a tough shoot, and I was very excited to be a part of that.
Were you the one that got the picture of him like almost going off the side, spitting the dirt off the end over at Devil's Playground?
Yeah, I was. I was standing there with one other videographer and the director, Brian Scotto, or co-director, and it was just us three there at that corner. And then when he did that, I just thought he wasn't going to be able to pull it back,
Yeah.
But then afterwards, after he pulled it off, then he was literally like, he cut that corner where we were at by like 2 or 3 feet. Like, we were seriously staring into his eyes as he passed us. So it was pretty insane. And if you look at my sequence of photos, it's basically like, okay, all right, he's going off. Okay, all right, he comes back. And then it's like, oh, wait, he's getting closer, and closer, closer. And then pretty soon my picture is just of his helmet.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a crazy sequence, and I'm super stoked to be a part of that. And that honestly was one of the hardest shoots that I've had to do, and that Ken's had to do, because it pretty much took 12 days of shooting. Because Ken and the whole team, everyone's been really public about having the issues with the car, but honestly, to make 1,400 horsepower at 14,000 feet is
real hard.
Tough. It's just super tough. And they did high altitude testing at the highest airport in the world. They did everything to make sure at the end of the day it was bulletproof. And then let me tell you, the last shooting days that we had, it was amazing how well the car worked. And
that was good testing.
Yeah. So much power and so much tire smoke and all the good noises. But people don't realize how hard it is to shoot at Pikes Peak. Like, out of the 12 shooting days, 12 of those days we had to hide for lightning. Because at that area, Devil's Playground, it's like the most struck area, I think, pretty much in North America, from what I've heard, to the point where the one of the safety trucks that was up there during a race that I was actually at a couple of years ago, it got struck by lightning, and then the wheel bearings got welded together.
Oh my God.
So
Jesus.
so the danger from lightning is real.
Real, yeah.
On top of that, out of the 12 shooting days, every day was struck by lightning, and out of the 12 shooting days, maybe 6 of them we had snow,
like rain or snow, yeah.
Rain or snow. In fact, some of the shots that made it into the cut, like, it was snowing, and I'm talking about mid-August. It was snowing up there.
Yeah, there's really nothing like going to that event. Like going to the mountain and racing up the mountain is just grueling, and it is. The weather changes and you can't see anything, and the road is different, and oh my God, it's just insane. But yeah, I would advise people to go watch that race, but they've kind of limited where people can stand and watch now to about 3 places, and it's kind of a bummer because it's so hard to see anything there just because of how the race is structured and how the road is, that you miss out on a lot of cool stuff by not being able to wander anymore. But it is something that everybody should do at least once, just to experience the craziness of it.
Yeah, and my piece of advice is, if you do really want to go, just go early and then camp out at Devil's Playground, because you could see over 30% of the race course. Yeah,
you watch the switchbacks, and you're above the tree line, so you do get the best view from that spot.
Yeah, and if you get binoculars, you can seriously get really you can actually see them going through Glen Cove and all that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That does sound like a really fun project. So you're going to be working, more and more with, because the Hoonigan brand is large. Obviously, everybody knows about it, but it's not just Ken Block. It's a whole team of directors and videographers and social media people, and I mean, it's a marketing team, so it's quite a big operation. And so you're going to be doing more stuff with them in the future.
Yeah, so Hoonigan Media Machine is just like, they do a little bit of everything, which is just so awesome. And then of course they do apparel too, which is just so crazy to me. That's like, I don't even think about that now when I think about what it is. They just do, like, once they started the Daily Transmission video series, where they have these videos come out almost daily, just focusing on cars and just focusing on the people behind the cars. It's just crazy how much is blown up, and I'm really lucky to work with them. And I definitely want to try to be more on camera with those guys too, which opens up more doors for me to do other things, to shoot other things too, So like, I'm definitely working with them on that, and pretty much any thing they do in terms of like racing or video productions, I always try to be a part of that. Recently, we did a hill climb down in Mexico, in Baja, California, which is just this location that is so crazy. It's in Baja, California, but the elevation's so high that it snows there.
Okay.
You wouldn't think that, in Baja. And on top of that, this hill climb, it's even longer than Pikes Peak in terms of like the track. Yeah. I think it's almost 30 miles, the race course, which is just so crazy. Yeah. And it's more low speed. There's just a lot tighter corners versus Pikes Peak. It's not as flowing, but it's just different. And so anyways, they supported this thing, and I call it Camp Hill Climb, because at the base there's this like summer camp, and all the competitors and all of us, we stay there.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's like a camp, we all stay in like bunk beds or like separate rooms, but like there are like cots, and everyone can like hang out together, and then we all eat together at the mess hall, and then once we're done with that, we actually all head up on the hill, and then we do a hill climb. It's just so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look into that, see if that's something I want to go do. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the fun thing is, it's not super competitive to the point where it's like you don't want to bring like a beater to Pikes Peak, whereas this race, it's so laid back. It's like just a fun thing to do. And I mean, like there were motorcycles, but there were just regular cars from Baja, Mexico that just entered. Yeah, it was super cool.
Oh, that's great.
To me, all of the camera gear, all of the computers, all that stuff, they're just tools, like just like if you run a shop or whatever, your tools, they just make you money. I mean, you just use them to make money. For me, it's like I beat up my cameras pretty good. I drop them all the time, and they're always broken all the time, and they're always in the shop getting fixed. But honestly, that's just kind of the cost of business. But in terms of like bad experience, like the good thing about the car world, especially the car culture world, generally speaking, most of the people don't last very long if they're unsavory. If they're not good people, they don't last long. They get kicked out pretty quick. And that's the nice thing is pretty much everyone I've worked with up until this point, there's some quirky people, but, I like working with everyone.
Very cool. Very cool. What about, something that you've got in the works that's really got you fired up?
Well, so next year, I'm definitely going to try to do a little bit of wrenching myself more.
Okay.
I love cars, and that kind of is one of those things that it all started with a love for cars, and that's what I always say is that's why everyone else like you too is in this business, right? Because of a love for cars. Otherwise, we wouldn't do this stuff because we don't like. For me, like driving cars, enjoying cars, working on them, all of that, being around them, it just makes my life complete. It's a life worth living, I always say. And so like that's one of the things I want to do next year is maybe build more cars or watch other people that are more skilled than me build cars for me.
Yeah. Do you have like a project in mind, like a car you've already got that you want to get back on the road or make a better performance car?
The list is too long. Really. Yeah. There's so many things that I want to buy, and it would be awesome. I recently did the shoot with a buddy who has a helicopter actually, and he has a hangar inside of an airport. Uh-huh. And I look at his hangar, and I'm like, forget the helicopters. He has 2 helicopters in there, and he owns one of them. But it's funny. I'm like, forget the helicopters. If I had this hangar, if I owned this hangar, it would just be full of cars, and obviously most of them wouldn't run. Yeah. But that's kind of the fun part, like it would be a bunch of $500 to $1,000 cars that just wouldn't run. Yeah. But I'm a lover of everything. I love everything. Eventually, I want to build something. Like one of everything, I want to build a muscle car. I want to build a drag car. I want to build a drift car. I want to build everything, but it's just a time issue, and I don't have an airport hangar yet.
Yeah, you need to get an airport hangar first. Yeah. Step 1, get airport hangar.
Exactly. Or step 1, get all the cars.
Yeah, either you got to put them somewhere. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you got to put them somewhere.
Well, let's take another break here, and then we'll be right back.
We are hosting our next Essentials of Operating a Shop seminar during the PRI show in Indianapolis, Indiana on December 6th. We developed this one-day seminar to help shop owners rethink how they run their business. We cover topics like employee management, best practices for accounting, improving customer service, and many more. It doesn't matter whether you've been in business for 20 years or haven't even opened yet, you will get useful information and helpful business practices to improve the operations at your shop and be more profitable. You can find out more information about the seminar and sign up by going to the Events tab on the Do It For A Living Facebook page or by visiting the website at doitforalivingpodcast.com.
Okay, Larry, so I want to talk, kind of dive more into your brand. So it's kind of like you are your brand, with the Larry Chen photography. So tell us kind of how your business, I guess you can call it that, is kind of structured, and what all services do you provide to your clients?
I guess one of the main things that's nice is I'm always on the ground anyways shooting. So a lot of people that know me, or a lot of people that I work with, they know that I'm out there at certain events, and they always come back to me to ask me for things from certain events, like whether it could be pictures of their race car or pictures of their show car, or it could be, me following certain influencers or certain race car drivers. I pretty much do anything, I guess, in the car culture realm. Like I'll shoot cars, I'll shoot people, I'll shoot wheels, I'll shoot products, I'll shoot anything. But of course, the thing that I love to do the most is I want to shoot things that I want to shoot. And then lucky for me, at the same time, get paid for it. Like, for example, the Baja 1000. I want to cover the Baja 1000 the way I want to cover it, and I want to shoot it, and I want to get as many pictures as I can. My main client for the Baja 1000 was Monster Energy, and they have, I think, probably the most athletes out of anyone, just in terms of just like like a single brand. You know, they have so many athletes and they have so many like title sponsor drivers. It takes an army basically to get good pictures of all of them. But for me, I just wanted to take it to the next level, and I did the same thing as I did last year, which is basically shoot from the ground during, you know, the tech days and the festival days or whatever. But then as soon as the racetracks leave, I'm following from the air, from a helicopter with my buddies. My buddy Eric Everly from Temp Media, he's doing video, and I'm doing the stills. And then my buddy Dave Vernick is the owner of the helicopter, and he's flying. And I work with him a lot, but for me, it's like the dream team, you know, like to be able to get good video while following the race and get good aerial stills. And then pretty much anytime we can land, you know, the plan this year was to land and then keep following the race, but of course we couldn't do that unfortunately, because there was a fueling issue in terms of like being able to get enough jet fuel.
Oh, wow.
So we couldn't actually go as far down south as we wanted to. But like the year before, what was nice was where we were landing was right next to the race course, so I could shoot from the ground, and then I can shoot the same car from the air. Like I could let the car pass me, or whatever, motorcycle pass me, and then I jump in the helicopter, and then we follow them, and we keep shooting them. So like I get full creative control, and I get to shoot what I want, and you know, it's like the best thing ever. And then on top of that, Monster Energy's happy because I'm delivering them as much as I can. You know, like I'm working for them as much as I can.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. That sounds. I really want to go down to the Baja sometime, but I probably won't get to experience it at the level that you are. But I'm going to be there more as a spectator if I ever get to go, not actually working. But yes, I mean that's a tremendous amount of work. You know, that's
a good example for like. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's a good example for like a dream shoot. You know, and I'm lucky I get to do that.
Yeah.
But there's also those ones like, for example, Pikes Peak. I'm the official Pikes Peak photographer. And I'm lucky enough to be able to hire a team to help me, you know, out on the mountain. You know, but last year was my first year as the official photographer, and being in that position, being able to get that access and having the experience on the mountain versus a lot of other shooters really helps. Really gives me the edge over just to sell pictures to the competitors and the teams and sponsors and whatnot. You know, I haven't been shooting Pikes Peak for that long, honestly, but you know what? I feel like I put in my hours, you know, like since 2010, I've pretty much shooting on the ground every time. And every time it is over a week out of my schedule. It's like 9 days on the ground there, you know, and it's like, between that and then shooting Climbcana, whatever, I've had quite enough. I have quite a few hours up there. You know,
yeah, you got some frequent hotel points in Colorado Springs, huh?
Yeah, I mean the thing is, people don't realize how hard it is to actually shoot from that altitude. I mean, I remember where there was one year where I was just hiking up and I was pushing so hard. Probably around above tree line, around 13,500 feet or something like that. And I was just pushing hard, and then my nose just started bleeding. I'm like, oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's good.
I just kept going, even though my nose just wouldn't stop bleeding. I'm just shooting, and I have this bloody nose, and everyone's probably thinking I'm dying or whatever. But it's just so tough on your body, and everyone has to run oxygen now. In order to, you know, really keep concentration. Yeah. But that's like another part of my job, you know, is doing official photography. But after the fact, or also during the fact, I'm pushing super hard to make sure the teams that I work for, the sponsors, and it could just be tire manufacturers. It could be like Hankook, or it could be a couple of years I was working for Toyota /Scion, and I just want to make sure I push super hard and make sure I get all the assets that they need to promote, their brand or whatever. It's always not worth it for me to shoot for these people if they can't use the pictures, if they can't see the return, from these pictures.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how many, I mean, it's kind of a hard question probably to answer, but how many hours do you think you are quote unquote working a week?
That's really tough to say.
Like, do you ever get any days off where you're just like, I'm just going to sit around and not do anything today?
Yeah, those come few and far between.
Yeah.
But I'm sure anyone who's listening to this, who has their own business, I'm sure they feel the same way. Like, anytime they have downtime, they want to check on something, or they want to do this, or they want to reply to emails or whatever. But I guess one gauge, I don't know if it's gone up or down, but one gauge, just to give you an idea, average how many pictures I take a day, it's about 750 pictures a day, plus or minus.
Wow.
So, for example,
gosh.
for the past, 2 days I haven't been shooting, but then in 2 more days I'll be shooting and I'll make 3,000 pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. Or like, for example, at a Formula Drift event, I'll end up sometimes with 25,000 pictures. And that's including remote cameras, and that's including, that's a whole week of shooting or whatever.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff to go through.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm running 6 remote cameras just to get, whatever angles that I can't physically be there. I can't physically be so many places at once.
Yeah.
I'll just run remote cameras to try to get as many angles as I can.
Does that mean they're just like posted up somewhere and you're just remotely snapping the picture?
Yep.
Oh, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't know they did that, so that's something new for me.
Yeah, like that's kind of one of the things that I learned from news photographers, like the guys who cover the Olympics, the guys who cover horse racing, or the guys who shoot the basketball. Like that. Those guys are the guys that I really look up to in terms of like what they do, their grind. So I try to apply that to motorsports photography.
So has your work kind of scaled back? You mentioned earlier that you've got a family and a couple kids. Has it changed any since that change in your life?
It's definitely changed. It hasn't scaled back, but it's definitely changed in terms of what jobs that I accept, and what jobs that I go after also. Mm-hmm. Before it was easy for me to leave, at 2-3 weeks at a time or whatever. But now it's just getting tougher and tougher. So I definitely try to take less travel days. So like before, what I used to do is I used to double, triple, quadruple dip on shoots. For example, like if someone was to hire me to go to Japan or go to whatever, Europe or anywhere in the world, Middle East, I'll double, triple dip by putting it out there on social media, or going through my contacts and trying to find other things to shoot. I try to find other cars to shoot. I try to find
while you're there.
Yeah. I just
nearby.
do whatever I can to maximize like my time and my clients' time, and just to make the most out of it. Like, because lucky for me, I get to promote from my channels and like on social or whatever, and my partners that I work with, I get to kind of pay it forward in that aspect. Like, yeah, you're paying me to go out there, and then I'm after the fact I'm shooting other things, but guess what? I'm gonna try to make it right for everyone. I try to promote everyone, and just whoever is good to me, I'm good to them as well. So like, I'm trying to do less and less of that and just focus more on just doing the best of the best of the best stuff, period.
Very cool. So what's kind of your big plan for 2018? Is it going to be anything, anything different, or do you get a set schedule for things you want to shoot, or just kind of playing it by ear?
Well, 2018, I think is going to be pretty busy for me because I'm going to hit the same, major events that I usually do, which is all the Formula Drift events. Same thing like SEMA and just the things that I can't miss, like Mint 400 off-road race, King of the Hammers off-road race. There's just all these events that I have to do. And then, of course, I have to shoot productions and car features and whatever. But one of the things I really want to focus on in 2018 is being in front of the camera more. Because for me, it's super fun to be able to meet people and work with different people, and then, like I said, just have different opportunities to shoot different things. So being in front of the camera, I think, is going to be really important.
So are you like interviewing people, like with a mic, or what do you mean by when you say like in front of the camera?
No, I mean, like, one of the things that I've been doing, for example, with the Hoonigan guys, is I've been trying to find cars that suit their show, and then I come in, I show them the car, and I want to tell them what I like about the car.
Okay, yeah.
Whether it be like that, or it could be even just something like the Michelin Drive style thing, where they just want to see me shooting, and they just want to like see me, I guess.
They want to take a picture of you taking a picture, huh?
Yeah, pictureception.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thing is, like, it blew my mind that they want to do that. But honestly, I'm glad that they're into that, because people sometimes want to see, how pictures are made. So I published those pictures right away because I just wanted to show people, like, hey, look, these are the pictures that I made, and then this is the video that they shot along with it.
Yeah, and I mean it's a cool concept, and that's a lot of what we're doing, with this podcast is, giving people that everybody may know online, they're like, oh yeah, I know your shop, or I've seen the car you guys built or something like that, but they don't actually, because they don't get to meet these people in person, or if they do, it's at like a drag race and they say hi and that's it.
Yeah.
So, people want, to get a little backstory, and it's a little, it's some personal stuff, but it's like, it's who you are as a person, and, people can respect you a lot more if they, feel connected to you somehow. So that, it's kind of along the same lines of what we're doing with this, to let people see that, it's not always cheery, but, it's a lot of hard work, and it's really a passion-driven business. So it's cool that, big companies are doing the same thing, and that you're seeing a shift in that, and you're kind of heading in that same direction.
Yeah. It's for me, like, race shops and custom shops, it's I don't even know, like, I don't have the patience to do a lot of the stuff that these guys do, but I respect them so much. And like every time I get to shoot a shop or a shop tour, it really like is such a good time for me, because I get to kind of see how they do things, and then, like the quirky things that I think is cool. Like, for example, I visited DP Motorsports in Germany, and they're like building like this crazy like K3 like Porsche race car, like the Jägermeister, like they want to like recreate that crazy like old school K3 or whatever, and they have all these like carbon fiber bumpers and molds and like laying around, and to them it's like whatever, it's just a day in the office, it's like junk or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Throwaways, stuff that they have on the wall. To me, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I've only dreamed to see these things. Like, I couldn't even imagine being in the same room as these things, like, let alone take pictures of them or whatever. So like that stuff really blows my mind. Like, and I mean, like, visiting shops like Jay Leno's shop, it's like so clean and so amazing.
God, yeah.
So many cool things going on. And then I go to shops like Nakai-san, from RWB. He has more empty Stella Artois bottles than anyone. I couldn't imagine anyone else having more Stella Artois bottles. I mean, like, this guy, he just always smoking cigarettes, always drinking Stella, and then just throws it, like, basically in his shop.
Okay.
It's so funny because it's like these really expensive cars. Like, he's a perfect example of something like this guy that's super textured, super passionate, but like he'll do all these like we did this 12-hour race with him, and he wanted to put race numbers on all of the cars, and so he just used a rattle can to put all race numbers on these cars. And with the overspray, he used brake cleaner to clean the overspray on these
right on the car.
these expensive cars, these RWB 911s, So it just kind of blew my mind. But like, yeah, like there's just so many different shops that I like to cover in different ways that it's just a different world, you know. Like I think probably the best shop I've ever been to, the cleanest shop, is Canepa. Just seeing the way that they do things there is super awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. What about, like looking farther in the future? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I think I just want to keep shooting things that I haven't shot before. Like I want to do Dakar. Eventually, I want to follow that race. And I want to do, I don't know, I want to shoot F1. I haven't shot F1 yet, surprisingly. I've shot historic F1 stuff, and I've shot F1 cars, but I haven't been able to actually shoot a race. It's just such a, I guess I just have to find the time, and also I need to I don't know, figure out that story angle, what I'm gonna do. Like, but that'll come in due time. I've shot so many races, and for me it's nice to be able to experience all of them, but I could shoot every weekend for the rest of my life, and I'm never going to be able to get all of them.
Yeah, so it's kind of more of the same. You're not really looking to like create like an ad agency that you have like paid photographers, sending them all over. You really just want to keep doing it because you love it.
Yeah, the thing is, that kind of stuff, I get that that's a lot of where the money is, but I'm just not passionate about that kind of stuff, like I'm not passionate about it. And I think that's what makes me unique, is that, I'm just focusing on those kind of things, those car culture aspect things, versus a lot of people are focusing on commercial, which is okay, they make their money or whatever. But honestly, it's just not fun for me.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be something you're passionate about if you're going to be doing it as much as you do. And looking through an average of 750 pictures a day, you better like the pictures you're taking.
Exactly.
Yeah, when we were talking with Chris Stewart of Grid Life, he's like, I worked on Pampers for a little bit. And I was like, that was probably terrible. And he's like, yeah, I only lasted like 2 months at that one. And then he moved on to Harley Davidson. It's
my God.
It's like, yeah, you can't, for some of us, you just can't force. You just can't do the not fun stuff. You're like, I'm just not worth it. There's no amount of money that'll make it worth it.
Well, I feel like the passion wouldn't be there, It really wouldn't. Like, the reason why I shoot these things the way I shoot it is because I'm passionate about it, Like, I want to make it look good. If it's something I really don't care about, then I mean, the thing is, like, most photographers in the world are wedding photographers. And while I get that people can do that and people can make a good living out of it, and I just can't fall in love with that, I'm sure a lot of people do, and they love it and they do it great, and more power to them. But I just can't. It's just not something that I look forward to, Like if I wake up and I don't want to shoot at someone else's wedding.
Yeah. What if they're like driving away in a really cool car? Would that maybe make it a little better?
That's pretty cool. Oh, or if they're doing a burnout.
Doing a big burnout. Yeah, okay. So that's what to keep in mind if you ever want Larry Chen at your wedding is you better have a really cool car and make a cool exit. And then he'll do it. Well, cool, man. Well, let's, I kind of want to move on to the, close this thing out here. Is there, anything our listeners can, some advice you can maybe give them on, maybe the media content side that'll help, their business or their situation?
I feel like social media is such a big deal. Like, a lot of people think it's super easy. It's just such a simple thing that people just do, like that teenage girls just do easily. Like they got followers or whatever. But the thing is, it's actually a lot harder than you think. Like, it just takes so much time. It's a time waster. I guess.
Yeah, it can be.
But what I'm saying is, it's something that you really have to focus on, whether it be getting someone else who's better to do it, or to just dedicate time on it, or just, I don't know, if you're make it a thing where every time you sit down for a meal, you post one photo or whatever, just be out there and stay in front of people's eyes, stay in front of people's minds. And then I feel like that's kind of the best piece of advice I can give.
Okay. Yeah, and that's kind of aligned with what we advise shops to do as well. Is like, if you're an installation shop, you don't need fans, on the other side of the state or country or world. You need like local people. And you mentioned earlier, people are going to look for you, and see what you've done. And so if you can post up, one picture of something cool you're working on every day, you're not going to, your like count isn't going to go up. But if somebody's like, who works on, some, I don't know, like Subarus, and you talk to your forum and then, or the Facebook group, and they just direct you somewhere, then they're like, oh, look, they have just installed this turbo that I'm looking at getting, or, oh, they're dynoing the car that I have, or something like that, just something to show that you are in business and doing something.
Exactly. That's
can go a long way.
Well, people like to see what other people are doing. Like you make fans out of them, even if it's a local thing. Like, let me give you a perfect example. There is a dealership in Chicago called it's a Porsche dealership. It's called Porsche Exchange, and it's just it's like any other Porsche dealership. But the biggest thing is the difference is they have the best original photography, I think. And I follow them and I buy my parts from them. It's just such
just
a
because
different,
of that, huh?
Oh my God, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Like, I'm a fan, like they believe in that. They believe in the cars and they believe in making nice pictures around even the shop. It details shop. They take cars out. They make this original stuff that it just blows my mind that they even put in the effort to do that. And then I buy all my parts from them because, I mean, they're just cool people, So yeah, like because it's such a global market now, If it's a mom and pop shop, you never know. Someone on the other side of the world could buy from you. Or,
You never know. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they could ship their car to you or whatever. But what goes around comes around, as always.
Very cool. Well, what about, like maybe a game-changing product that you've seen in the last year? Was there anything that popped up at SEMA this year, or maybe a tool that you use now that makes your life easier? Is there anything cool that's kind of come up recently?
I think one of the things that I've been really using more recently are battery conditioners. Okay, yeah. So like that's kind of a thing that I feel like is overlooked pretty easily. So like I've worked with C-Tech quite a bit, and then they've supplied my cars with battery conditioners, and it's nice to be able to actually drive the cars anytime you want to, versus the battery always dying, whatever. So one of the things that you'll notice have you been to Jay Leno's garage?
No, I have not. No.
Okay, well, that's something that we can probably arrange in the future. But one of the funny things about Jay Leno's garage is you have to watch where you're walking because there are thousands. Like, I feel like there's thousands.
God, I bet there are literally everywhere. Thousands.
I mean, here's the thing. I went to Leno's garage when they were getting their shipment of C-Tech chargers, and it was literally a pallet of chargers. Okay, wow. And I'm talking about 6 volt, 12 volt, like whatever. Every single car has a charger plugged in. Uh-huh. So you have to watch where you look. It's just so fun. You have to watch where you step. It's just hilarious. And the reason why is because guess what? Out of the 300 some odd cars or whatever, any one of them can drive anytime.
Anytime. I mean, that's always been his thing. Is like he's like, I want to be able to drive every single one of these whenever I want to. So that's a good point.
For me, that's like kind of a big thing. Like I've been to shops a lot of times where, like, it's like, okay, we got to get this car out from the back. And then, oh wait, the battery's dead, and then we have to move this battery over from this. It's just so.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's just a waste. I don't know.
And I'm taking a car out of storage here probably in the next month or so, and I'm like dreading it. I'm like, I haven't seen this thing in a couple months, and I know the battery's going to be dead, so I should have put a charger on it. So, what about software? What are you using every day? To manage your scheduling, and then also your editing.
Scheduling, I just use Google, and because that's just built in on every device or whatever, and then in terms of editing, it's mostly Lightroom.
And that's an Adobe product, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What about on your phone? Do you have any like cool apps that you use that help you day to day?
One app that I've been using, especially for off-road racing, is Lead Nav, which is just so cool. Like it's basically like a off-road navigation, GPS off-road navigation, and it's just so useful to be able to chase an off-road race, to know where the course is and to know where roads are or whatever. So like I definitely use that a lot.
So it's like Google Maps for dirt roads, or do you have to set
pretty much. I mean, like you could download maps for areas that you're going to be in without reception, and then it all works seamlessly from there.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So what are you like daily driving if it's not a race car? What do you kind of get in and out to go to the grocery store every day?
I'm daily driving my FJ Cruiser. It's a 6-speed manual FJ, and that's my off-road vehicle also.
Is it an older one?
No, it's a 2007.
The new one?
It's a new one.
So have you had it for a while?
Yeah, a couple of years, but it's just it's one of my project cars I've been building up.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, to close this out, what's the best way that, people can take a look at your work and maybe, see what you do and maybe, reach out and see if there's a project you guys may be able to work on? What's kind of the online ways to get in contact with you?
So definitely the best way to follow what I'm doing is on Instagram. Just, I guess, search Larry Chen. And for like website wise, you can pretty much find all my recent work in high resolution, in 4K, downloadable like wallpapers or whatever, on larrychenphoto.com. And also pretty much all the photos on there you can purchase for print. But like my whole thing is to, just give photos away for personal use, for free, just so people can enjoy them.
So you're listing, what website do you list all your photos on? Because I'm assuming they're probably quantities of large files.
Oh, I use SmugMug.
Oh, okay. So they've got a tiered software program, right? Or a tiered subscription for all the photos that you have?
Yeah. So I just, that's one of the things that I'm a stickler about is just providing those high resolution photos for people.
Very cool, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking some time to talk with us, and I look forward to seeing you out at future events.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Do It for a Living. You can find out more about this guest, this show, and even details about what we just talked about at our website. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/doitforaliving and tell us who you want to hear from. And most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Click subscribe. Do it now. Seriously. I'll wait while you grab your phone. Open up the podcast app. Tap the subscribe button. When you subscribe, you help us gain momentum and attract more high-level guests.